Welcome to License Your Music, where I'm here to give you all the tools you need to license your music for film, TV, ads, trailers, video games, and more, so that you can earn passive income doing what you love, and you can earn good money doing what you love. I'm your host, Jody Friedman. Thank you so much for stopping by, watching this YouTube video with me. Please come by my website at licenseyourmusic.com. Download our free guide on 4 simple steps to get your music in TV. That's what it is right now. It may be something else when you're watching this because we rotate that in and out a couple times a year. But we always have free stuff on our website. And if you haven't heard our podcast, check it out on Apple Music or Spotify podcasts. It's called License Your Music. And my job is to help you learn how to license your music and to be your guide in your journey through music licensing so that you can have the same success that I've had and enjoy life doing something like what you're meant to do, what you love to do. So without further ado, what I want to talk about today, we're going to do a walkthrough of a string library that I use a lot, and I learned from other trailer composers that this was a great string library, and the more I used it, the more I used others, the more I ended up leaning towards this one for my main string library, although sometimes I do layer multiple libraries. Today we're going to go through Cinematic Studio Strings, which is just a really lovely sounding library. And we're going to start by, I want to show you, this is the best way I could show how to demonstrate this for you is through a track that I've been working on. This is a temporary title probably, but the track has, it has tons of multi-tracks on there, strings, brass, drums, trailer hits, sound design, all that good stuff. But today we're going to be looking at and listening to mostly the strings. First, I'll play it for you. This is just the start of a work in progress, the back end of that. And here's what it sounds like in full effect. Got a trailing note there. So, and then you hear my system freaks out with this many tracks going. But basically what I'm using are spiccato strings, and it's all from Cinematic Studio Strings, and I'll show you just a close-up on that. Let me go ahead and solo those, and then we can bring it up. Now I use a multi-channel output. I'm not going to get too into that in this session, but it's a way to save on processor speed and whatnot. And when I was getting into trailer music and learning, I had never, ever thought I could compose for strings or brass. And the more I started studying it, the more I realized it's just like anything else in music. If you take the time to learn what it all means, you can start piecing things together and start doing it yourself. And I'm finally at the point where I confidently can communicate about strings and brass. I'm not an expert when it comes to orchestration. I'm learning every day. I learn something new about this. But today I want to show you the power of this app here. So this app is Cinematic Studio Strings, and it follows here this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 patches that I've loaded up here in this multi-instrument output. Let me get rid of the output at the bottom so you can see what I'm talking about. So we've got my first violin sustain, that means legato, that's legato. And then, what's this? This should be second violins, not first. Oh, that's staccato. So that's going to be here, the violin spiccato patch. And I have it on, it's actually not spiccato, it's staccato. So here within the staccato patch, which means those short, abrupt, that's staccato, you can actually set it to be staccato, staccatissimo, spiccato, which is more light plucks, not as intense of a pluck. Staccatissimo is in between that. Staccato and SFZ, I think is, gosh, I don't remember what that means, but that's what I have them all set to, and that's why you're getting the sound that it gets, and we can listen to it here. Let's listen. hearing that, I think I'm going to have to go back in and change all these to staccato as we're going, because I think that's going to be better. Because there's a lot of trailing off, a lot of reverb trail on that SFZ. I don't remember what that stands for, 1. So I'm going to change them all to staccato. I might even go to spiccato as we're going here. But that's, you know, the pattern here. Pattern here is just what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the note, on the chord, the root note of the chord. Right, and then it changes a chord. Right, and it just keeps going and going and evolves. And then when it gets to the second half of this whole measure, I bring it up an octave. So it jumps up, it doubles in octaves. Let's see, where is it? No, I don't want to do that. Let me minimize that. And let me shrink this down a bit. So we can, there it goes. So from here, it gets more intense. Sounds better on staccato, for sure. So the next one that's in here is the violin 2. So with an orchestra, there's 2 violin sections, apparently. There's violins 1 and violins 2. And they sound a little different. So in the patch, in CSS strings, which is what we're talking about today, let me open that back up. I want you to hear the difference here. Violin 2 and violin 1. Let's combine those. It's going to be even fuller. First violin, second violin, sustain, that's legato. Second violin, staccato. Let's bring it to staccato. Just 1, 2. And also, where I place them, where I pan them, is where I would think they would be sitting in an orchestra. So I used to pull up a chart that would tell me where all the instruments would sit, and that's where they're panned. The violins 1 are further left than violins 2. They're a little bit more around, let's say, 10 a.m. Or instead of, you know, the violin 1, which are like between 9 and 10. That's where I'm putting them anyway. So let's see. And then violas would be next, right? Viola, viola. Should probably learn that. Sustains, that's what I have muted, but spiccato or staccato is what I want. It's on spiccato, actually. Let's get those to staccato. Let's see how that sounds. Now you are getting a bit of the a strong attack on it, but in the mix it sounds great, so I'm going to leave it like it is. Now you do have the option of adding reverb here. I choose not to do that, but the Cinematic Studio Strings reverb is great. That's their reverb. Okay, and then here's my own reverb, which is with Valhalla Room. Okay, so onward. So we got the violin 1, the violin 2, the violas, and then the cello. The cello. Let's open that back up. Bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum. All right, cellos. Second violin staccato, violas, and the cellos. Basses. I'm not using the basses, but I am using the staccato. Cellos. They're on spiccato, probably for a reason. So let's listen to that first. So the spiccato is going to really cut through the mix a little more, or a lot more, with that brass in there too. So now I want to show you, just to demonstrate it to you. Well, first, I suppose, let's listen to all of them together. Right? It sounds really great, and it doesn't take that much to get that sound. You know, this app makes it really easy, and the natural sound that comes out of Cinematic Studio Strings is already so good. There's not so much that you have to do to it to get it sounding amazing. So normally you could put a bass in here playing the same as the cello. In fact, let's go ahead and see if we can do that. No, let's not do that. Let's not bother. But you can do that. I didn't do it because I have all this brass going on and a lot of low-end frequency stuff happening in this track, some Brahms and some brass. And that kind of got in the way of the bass strings, just ended up muddying it up a bit. So I just left it out because I really just want it to cut through. So you hear that top line really cutting through. So that's what I did here for strings. Now what I'd like to do is just show you on this first violins patch that I'm not even using. Let's show you. Here we go. Let's see. All right, violins. There we go. All right, so it's on sustains. So there's sustains. You can use the mod wheel to control the intensity and the velocity that you're playing with. And you want to think about when you're writing for strings, you want to actually imagine a string player and how it sounds and the way they bow their strings. And that's what the mod wheel is for that intensity, that natural la, la, la. Sometimes they crescendo out. So you want to do that with the mod wheel. So that's the sustain, and we talked about staccato earlier. Here's tremolo. Harmonic. Trills. Measure tremolo. And it syncs to your tempo. Right? Marcatos. That spiccato overlay, you hear it at the start. That bump. Right? And pizzicato. Right? Collegno. Bartok snap, I think, which is the back of the bow. Pizzicato. And what you can do here, if you hold the Alt button or the Option button on a Mac, you can shut off whatever you're not using to save your memory. Look at this memory setting here. The RAM on your computer, it takes an enormous amount of RAM to process all this. So to save that, if you can shut these off, look at it go up by gigabytes as I turn them on. So if you're not using them, you just shut them off. It's really nice, it's really convenient, and just out the gate, again, it just sounds... so nice. You don't have to do much. And I'm not a string player, I don't play violin. But I can program, and sometimes that's all you need is to be able to program and figure out how to move the MIDI around. It's how some of the best DJs in the world are producing their music. So I hope this was helpful. It's kind of a glance at Cinematic Studio Strings. I wanted you to see how you can piece strings together using it. all the different things it has to offer. Of course, it has the reverb, it has all these different mixes over here. This is a blend of the close mic, the main mic, and the room mic. But if you want to shut that off and just go close, right? Or room, or main. And this is a pan. Or just get a mix of all three. I usually don't mess with that very much. Some people might, but I leave it like it is. And yeah, again, on my reverb, I only use Valhalla Room on my reverb, just pretty much how it comes out the gate. I throw a little OTT, which is by Xfer Records. It's completely free. I highly recommend it. You can use this for compression or just for EQ if you want. I should bring the depth down a bit. All right, thanks so much for watching this YouTube video walkthrough of Cinematic Studio Strings. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions or you just want to comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I'm here to help you learn about music licensing and share with you the tools that I use in my journey here at License Your Music. So come by licenseyourmusic.com and keep making great music. I'll see you around. Stay cool. Peace.